Right now, there is a very high probability that you are paying up to 15 times more than you need to for an AI.
Oh, it's
So,
absolutely.
and not just overpaying, but paying for an AI that is actually worse at your specific job than a completely free model.
It sounds crazy, but it's true.
Like, let that sink in for a second. Today, we're diving into the May 2026 AI landscape. And if you feel like you were just losing your mind trying to keep up with the sheer volume of new releases, you're absolutely not alone.
No, not at all.
Because, according to the sources we're unpacking today, there are exactly 354 different AI models available for public API access right now.
It is just a staggering number. I mean, 354. And the startling reality here is that because of this overwhelming volume, almost everyone out there is making incredibly inefficient choices.
Yeah.
And, including seasoned tech professionals and developers in this, it isn't because better options aren't sitting right there in front of them.
Right.
It's because they simply lack a systemic framework to make a rational decision.
Which brings us directly to our mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
We are tearing into a guide called PicksByModel.
Mm-hmm.
It's this framework designed specifically to cut straight through the noise of those 354 models. The goal here is to equip you, the listener, with the exact mental model you need to choose the right AI for your specific task.
Yes.
We want to save you money, save you compute time, and honestly just give you permission to ignore, like, 99% of the hype cycle.
And that permission to ignore the noise is so crucial because we have all been heavily conditioned to look at this landscape the wrong way.
Oh, completely.
We look for leaderboards, right? We look for whoever has the highest overall score. But in the real world of applied AI, chasing that high score is actually a massive trap.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because you're right, the industry default for ranking these models is the benchmark leaderboard.
Yeah.
Whenever a new model drops, the first thing people post is its benchmark score. Why is looking at that leaderboard the wrong way to go about picking an AI?
Well, it fails for two fundamental reasons. First, benchmarks are blended scores. Okay. What happens is evaluators take a model, they run it through a massive, varied battery of tests. So advanced calculus, creative writing, Python coding, logic puzzles, legal reasoning.
Just everything.
Right, everything. And then they average all of those results out into a single number. So let's say a model gets an 86.
So basically, benchmarks are testing these models for a decathlon, but most of us only need the AI to run a 100-meter dash.
That is the perfect analogy. Yeah.
Because if I only need it to sprint, its ability to pole vault is completely irrelevant to me.
Exactly. That 86 score is blended. That specific model might actually be terrible at the exact task you need it for.
Like drafting a highly specific 500-page legal document.
Yeah, or rapidly routing data in the background of an app. It got a high overall score because it was tested on a bunch of other disciplines that you frankly just don't care about.
It's like looking at a top vehicles list, seeing a Ferrari at number 1, and buying it to haul lumber.
Right.
Like, sure, it's technically the best vehicle on the list, but it's going to fail your specific task miserably, and you're going to pay a fortune for the privilege.
Exactly. And that brings us to the second massive failure of benchmark leaderboards. They treat cost like it doesn't even exist.
Yeah, they entirely ignore price.
Which is wild. The PicksByModel framework introduces a completely different paradigm here. It argues that you have to filter first by your specific use case, then by the technical capability you need, and only then do you look at price.
Makes sense.
An 86 score model that costs $15 per million tokens is not automatically better than an 82 score model that costs 32 cents. For real practical workloads, the dramatically cheaper one is often vastly superior.
Because if it does the job you need it to do just as well, you don't need the luxury sports car.
Exactly.
So since the leaderboards are broken, let's give everyone a new toolkit. The sources outline these 4 variables or 4 pillars that actually matter when you are selecting a model.
Right. And the first pillar is the foundational filter, which is task type. You have to clearly define what you are actually doing.
Right, because coding tasks require fundamentally different architectures than, say, creative writing.
Exactly. Or analyzing a dense financial report needs a completely different model than a real-time, back-and-forth customer service chatbot. If you don't establish the task first, the rest of the framework just falls apart.
Okay, so pillar 1 is task type. Pillar 2 is context length. And this is a space where I think a lot of people get really tripped up because the range in the current market is just wild.
It really is. When we talk about context length, we're essentially talking about the model's short-term memory for a single conversation.
Like how much data it can hold in its head at one time.
Yes. At the lower end, you have legacy models that offer an 8K context window. That's roughly a few thousand words. But at the absolute top end, you have models like Google's Gemini and Anthropic's Claude pushing a 1048K context window.
Which is over 1 million tokens in context.
It's massive.
To put that into perspective, paying for a 1 million token context window when you are just doing a quick 5-sentence query is like renting out an entire massive stadium just to have a private conversation with one other person.
That's a great way to look at it.
And what's worse, from a mechanical standpoint, the AI still has to scan all those empty seats. It's burning unnecessary compute power, and you are literally throwing money away.
That is the mechanical reality. Now, if you are processing a 500-page legal discovery document, yes, you absolutely need that 1 million token context window.
Right, obviously.
But most daily tasks need a tiny fraction of that. You shouldn't pay for cognitive space you aren't using.
Okay, task type and context length. Pillar 3 is capability requirements. Let's define what that actually means in practice, because I feel like this gets technical fast.
It can, yeah. Capability asks what specific technical features the task actually demands. For instance, does your task require vision?
Meaning, do you need the AI to seamlessly analyze a complex chart or an image you upload?
Exactly. Or perhaps it requires structured output.
Right, like outputting perfectly formatted JSON, which, for anyone who doesn't live in code all day, JSON is basically just a very specific way of formatting text so that other software programs can read it automatically without choking on human language.
Precisely. If you are building an app where the AI talks directly to another piece of software, it has to be able to output perfect JSON.
You're right.
Another capability is tool use, where the AI is granted permission to call external functions, like searching the live web or triggering a calendar invite. In May 2026, most top-tier models support these capabilities, but the pricing to access them varies wildly from vendor to vendor.
Which leads us perfectly into the fourth pillar, which is budget scale. And honestly, this is where I want to push back on the framework a little bit.
Oh, okay, let's hear it.
Let's say I am building a startup or even just running a really important project at work. I'm going to have FOMO.
Sure.
If I use a 32-cent model, it feels like I'm cheaping out. Aren't my competitors going to absolutely crush me if they're using the $20 Genius model? Like, why would I ever compromise on quality?
It's a completely natural fear. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, you'll see why that FOMO is misplaced.
Okay.
Budget scale changes everything because of the sheer volume of data businesses are processing today. Let's look at the actual math. You have a highly capable model like DeepSeek v3, which costs 32 cents per million tokens.
Yep.
Then you have a maximum reasoning model like OpenAI's O3 Pro, which costs $20 per million tokens.
Okay, 32 cents versus $20. It sounds like a lot, but on a single query, it's just pennies.
On a single query, yes, absolutely. But imagine a business running 10 million tokens a day, which is actually fairly standard for enterprise applications routing data in the background.
Right.
The difference between those two models equates to a $57,000 monthly difference in operating costs.
Oh, wow. Wait, really? $57,000 a month?
Yes.
That is not trivial.
It's the difference between a profitable startup and bankruptcy. But on the flip side, if you are just an individual user running maybe 50,000 tokens a day for personal projects, the difference between the ultra-cheap model and the ultra-expensive model is about $28 a month.
Okay.
At that individual scale, the budget difference might be completely irrelevant to you. You just need to know your specific scale to make a rational choice.
That makes total sense. So, armed with these 4 pillars, task type, context length, capability, and budget scale, I want to look at the actual playing field.
Let's do it.
What does the landscape look like right now in May 2026?
It's a fascinating market right now. We mentioned there are 354 API models available.
Right, and an API simply allows your software to communicate directly with the AI servers in the background.
Exactly. But out of all 354, only 30 have verified public benchmark scores. And the top tier is totally dominated by just 5 major vendors.
Anthropic, Google, OpenAI, DeepSeek, and xAI. And instead of just reading a list of numbers from 1 to 10, let's look at the trends happening within these top vendors. Because looking at the data, there is a massive war happening between generalists and specialists.
Oh, absolutely. Anthropic, Google, and OpenAI are fighting fiercely in the generalist space.
Yeah, so let's look at the top performers. Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.7 currently holds the absolute highest verified benchmark score at 86.5.
And that one costs $5 per million input tokens. It's heavily favored for its massive context window and vision capabilities.
But right on its heels is Google's Gemini 2.5 Pro. It scores an 83.1, but the price drops dramatically to $1.25.
Which is just wild value.
Right. And OpenAI's GPT-5 is sitting right there, too. It scores a 78.9, also priced at $1.25.
And it's a very strong all-around model with a 400K context window.
And to show you how fast things are moving, just look at the legacy models on this list. Anthropic's previous generation, Claude Opus 4, scores a 72.0, but it still costs $15 per million token.
It's correct.
And their older Claude Sonnet 4 scores 64.9 at $3, whereas their brand new Claude Sonnet 4.6 scores an 80.0 for that exact same $3.
Yeah, the pricing of legacy models rarely drops as fast as the capabilities of new models rise. But the most interesting shift in the landscape isn't just about generalists getting cheaper.
Right.
The fastest growing segment right now is dedicated reasoning models.
Right, the OpenAI O series. But before we talk about their scores, explain how a reasoning model actually works mechanically. Like, why are they a completely different category?
Well, standard models operate largely on pattern recognition. They are incredibly good at predicting the next most logical word instantly.
Okay.
Reasoning models, however, are designed to think before they speak. When you give them a complex problem, they generate a hidden chain of thought.
Oh, I see.
They simulate different approaches, they test out math problems in the background, and they actually catch and correct their own mistakes before they ever generate the final output you see.
So it's the difference between hiring a junior developer who just starts typing code immediately versus hiring a senior architect who spends an hour sketching out 3 different blueprints on a whiteboard before writing a single line of code.
Exactly. And that extra computation time, that hidden chain of thought, requires massive compute power. That is why they are priced differently.
Right.
OpenAI's O3 Pro is built for maximum reasoning. It scores a 77.0, but it costs $20 per million tokens. It's an absolute premium.
But then you have their more accessible options. The O3 model scores 68.6 for $2, and my favorite data point in this whole reasoning cluster is the O4 Mini High.
Oh, yeah.
It scores a solid 72.0, but it only costs $1.10.
Which is an incredible inflection point. You are getting dedicated reasoning capabilities for a fraction of the flagship cost.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. We've talked about the generalists and the reasoning models, but there is a third trend in this data that is the single most important insight of this entire deep dive.
The extreme value category.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Specifically, DeepSeek V3. Look at these numbers. DeepSeek V3 scores an 81.7 on the blended benchmarks, and it costs 32 cents per million tokens.
Yeah.
Now look back at the top dog, Claude Opus 4.7. It scores an 86.5 and costs $5.
The math on that disparity is staggering.
It means Claude Opus 4.7 is roughly 15 times more expensive for a mere 5.8-point score improvement on a blended benchmark.
And this is the ultimate so what for you listening right now.
Yeah.
For 95% of real-world tasks, the end user cannot even perceive that 5.8-point difference. If you have the AI drafting a marketing email, summarizing a weekly meeting, or formatting an Excel sheet, the output from the 32-cent model and the $5 model will look completely identical to you.
So people are literally paying 10 to 20 times more money purely for an illusion of superiority. They see the high score and just assume it's better for everything.
They are paying a massive premium for edge case capabilities like quantum physics simulations or highly obscure logic puzzles that their specific daily task never actually triggers.
Okay, we've shattered the illusion. Now I want to challenge you.
Well,
Let's take everything we've talked about, the context windows, the reasoning, the pricing, and do some matchmaking. Let's apply the PicksByModel use cases to actual daily life scenarios so everyone listening can put this framework to work.
I love it. Let's walk through it.
Scenario 1, the everyday assistant. I just want a general default AI open in a browser tab all day. I need it for random questions, basic email drafting, brainstorming, standard stuff.
For the everyday default, the clear recommendation is Gemini 2.5 Pro. At $1.25 per million tokens, it offers the best benchmark per dollar ratio in the absolute top tier.
Really?
It natively handles vision, it has a degree of reasoning, and you have that massive 1 million token context window sitting there just in case. It is incredibly hard to beat as a daily driver.
Okay, scenario 2, long documents. Let's say I have a massive corporate merger file, hundreds of pages of dense text, and I need to analyze it without the AI losing the thread.
The defining pillar here is context length. You need that 1 million token window. The framework offers 2 paths here.
Okay.
If absolute output quality and nuance are paramount, say you are doing a high-stakes legal review where a single missed clause could cost millions, you use Claude Opus 4.7 at $5.
Right.
But if you just need standard analysis, summarization, or finding specific data points, you go right back to Gemini 2.5 Pro. You get the exact same massive context window, but it is 4 times cheaper.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Scenario 3, coding. I am building software and I need an AI to generate, review, and debug a massive volume of code.
This is where DeepSeek v3 is the undisputed king. Coding inherently requires massive volume and constant repetition. If you are paying $5 per million tokens while iterating code all day, you will burn through your budget instantly.
Oh, for sure.
DeepSeek v3 gives you top-tier performance and 81.7 score for literally pennies. At 32 cents, it is the most cost-effective top-tier model for pure coding efficiency.
What about API and development iteration? Let's say I'm building an app that relies on an AI to constantly process incoming data from users in the background very quickly.
The developer's default here is Claude Sonnet 4.6. It costs $3, which is mid-range, but it is favored because it is incredibly fast, and crucially, it has highly reliable structured output.
Remember that perfect JSON we talked about earlier?
Exactly. Sonnet 4.6 excels at outputting exactly what developers need without breaking the application logic.
Okay, scenario 5, complex math and heavy logic. I need an AI to solve a novel problem that requires deep, multi-step thinking.
Here you are looking purely at the reasoning models, and you have to weigh your budget scale. If you need maximum, absolute best-in-class logical performance and budget is no object, you unleash OpenAI's O3 Pro at $20. Wow. But the smarter play for almost everyone else is the Bull 4 Mini High. It's only $1.10, and you are getting 90% of the reasoning quality for literally 5% of the cost.
And finally, scenario 6, zero budget.
Yeah.
I am a student, or I'm just tinkering, and I frankly refuse to spend a single dime.
This is genuinely one of the most exciting developments in the 2026 landscape. You don't actually need to pay to get incredible utility. The free tier available right now actively competes with the premium paid models from just 18 months ago.
Yeah, the sources highlight 3 massive winners here, and you can run several of these locally on your own machine.
Yep.
We have NVIDIA's Nemotron 3 Nano Omni, which incredibly offers both vision and reasoning entirely for free.
It's amazing.
Then there is Google's Gemma 4, specifically the 31 billion parameter version. And anyone wondering, parameters are essentially the artificial synapses or brain connections in a model. 31 billion makes it highly capable, but still efficient enough for free tiers.
Exactly.
And finally, there are multiple variants of the Qwen model family, which are highly competitive and cost absolutely nothing.
And it proves the point perfectly. You do not need a credit card to access top-tier intelligence anymore, provided you match your specific task to the right free model.
So what does this all mean? It means you now have a superpower. Instead of getting paralyzed by 354 different models, or getting tricked into overpaying for a blended benchmark score that doesn't apply to your life, you have a system. You define your task first. You check how much context memory you need. You figure out what technical capabilities are required, and then you find the cost-adjusted winner.
You are no longer buying the Ferrari just to haul lumber. You are choosing the precise tool for the job.
Exactly.
But before we wrap up today, this entirely new landscape raises an incredibly important question. Something for you to ponder long after this deep dive ends.
Ooh, I love a good lingering question. Lay it on us.
Look at the broader implications of what we've discovered today. If open, completely free models and ultra-cheap 32-cent models are essentially indistinguishable from premium $5 models for 95% of our daily tasks.
Yeah.
We are currently watching the total commoditization of intelligence.
Wow, the commoditization of intelligence.
Exactly. If raw AI computing power and reasoning is practically free and ubiquitous, what does the future actually look like?
Right.
In a world where literally everyone has access to a genius-level assistant for pennies, the differentiator won't be having the AI anymore. That advantage is completely gone.
So true.
The only differentiator going forward will purely be about what you, the human being, actually choose to build with it.
It's entirely about the builder, not the tool. That is incredibly empowering and honestly a little intimidating.
Yeah, a little bit.
But you have the toolkit now. So the next time you need an AI, don't just click the one you saw trending on social media. Run the framework, save your compute, save your money, and go build something amazing. Keep questioning the consensus and have fun experimenting out there. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.